What up? What up? What's good? Welcome to another episode of Leadership Over Libations, the place where creatives, visionaries, entrepreneurs, and those who aspire belong. You already know I'm your host, Mr. T. Brown. And today, y'all been asking about it. It's bank day. You know what I mean? It's time to get to the bank, time to get to the money, time to stop thinking about it and stop making excuses. This is the place you need to be to get all the answers, all the gems, everything that you need to know about getting money. All right. So, my guest today is none other than Miss Stormy Banks. She is the founder of the Pink Print Firm. I gotta say that slow. Pink Print Firm. Okay. She was featured in Forbes magazine. Forbes, now you know how big that is. In the Forbes magazine for founders under 30 years old. Okay. And then on top of that, man, this lady done helped people secure over $19 million in funding, man. So it's crazy to have her here. So without nothing else to say, you know what I mean? I want to introduce to y'all, man, Miss Stormi Banks. How you doing, sweetie?
I'm doing pretty good, T. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I appreciate you for stopping by. You know, I know you a busy woman. You on the world tour. You got stuff going on, so I had to have you here. But I know that today was important for me, especially because I ran across you at the gathering.
Right.
You know, you did a phenomenal segment talking about funding, talking about grants. And I was a student because I didn't know nothing about nothing when it comes to getting grants and getting funding for business. And I've been doing business for 30 plus years. So it was a eye-opening moment for me. So I said I had to get her here, you know what I mean? And by the grace of God, you know, you made it happen. So welcome. It's customary for us here at Leadership Over Libations to have good conversations over libations of choice.
Okay.
So I felt it was only befitting and it was only right to do Bel Air Lux White. You know, the queen, you know what I mean, coming in, we
There we
doing
go. There
champagne,
we
you know what I'm
go.
saying? So I'm gonna pop this. And what we normally do is we toast to what we call the pie in the sky.
Okay.
Okay. The P standing for a positive, I standing for informative, and the E standing for euphoric conversation. Okay. So as I pour this up, we're gonna get right into it.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, let that simmer. Ladies first.
Appreciate you. I'm excited. This will be a good conversation.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I've been looking forward to it. Like I said, as you can tell, I'm probably a little nervous, but I'm normally not nervous.
Well,
You
what
know,
is it making you nervous?
it's the fact that I'm in the room with some money. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the room with some money, and I'm showing people, you know, that been watching, been listening, how to get to some money, and that's what they tune in for. So we definitely gonna make sure we do that
Yeah.
for them today. So I pour that up, and we gonna toast you
Okay.
and get right into it. So, cheers to you.
Cheers to the pie in the sky.
Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
having me.
Indeed. Yep, that'll do it.
That's it right there.
All right. So, like I said, y'all, this is the Get to the Money segment. I wanted to have this segment because as an entrepreneur, as a creative, as a visionary, you typically really like don't know the way to get the money. You know what I'm saying? Like you have family. Sometimes you don't have family. Sometimes you don't have friends, support system, and things of that nature that can assist you in your endeavors, right? So I wanted to do this segment because it's a lot of people that have been watching and been listening, that have been asking, I want to start this business. I want to do this. I want to do that, but I don't know where to get the money. I don't qualify for loans. I don't, you know, nobody in my family want to help me out, you know, stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring, you know, the grant goat, the grant guru, the grant queen up in here to show people that it can be done. You know what I'm saying? So before we get into all of that and show people how to get to the money, tell us a little bit about Stormy Banks. Like, who is Stormy Banks? Where you from? You know, growing up, the whole nine. You know, whatever you want to share so that people know who we dealing with.
Okay, so I'm Stormy Banks, as you already know, and I'm the founder of Pink Print Firm. And I was telling you off camera, I was like, it's always hard to answer this question because I actually started not using like labels to identify myself. And so it's kind of hard to explain to people like who I see myself as because it's more of a emotional experience that I'm having with myself these days.
Yeah.
I started off as a hairstylist, and that's who I really thought that I was. I was like, I'm a hairstylist. I dedicated my life, my career, my education to doing hair.
Right.
And when COVID hit and I had to switch gears to figure out what I was going to do next because New York had shut down, all of the non-essential workers, I was like, okay, well, who am I now? And I actually had a really hard time pivoting and transitioning into a new person because I was so stuck on I have to do hair.
Yeah.
And so after COVID hit and I couldn't do hair anymore, that's when I started realizing that people were like online teaching about like credit and funding and business credit and business credit. And I had already gotten a couple grants for my hairstyling business back in New York. And so I just started going on there naturally, just talking about grants, not even trying to have a service, not even trying to run a company, but just like, hey, y'all, there's also this type of funding too. And it kind of just sparked a lot of interest because people were like, oh, I don't have good credit. Oh, I don't have revenue in my business yet. Oh, I don't want to go into debt. Like, how can we get these grants? And then that's when it just organically kind of popped off to create Pink Print. But over all in all, I don't have a label of who I would say that I am. I think that I'm an educator. I think that I'm a positive person. I think that I'm a woman of faith. You know, those type of attributes. But I don't have like a whole shebang of like who's Stormy Banks.
Right, for sure, for sure. And I mean, the reason why I asked that is I like to be a little bit personable so people know that, like, okay, this is a young lady, you 30 years of age?
30 years.
30 years of age. And it's people that are in the 40s and 50s that still ain't figured it out. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, creatives that are in their 20s and 30s that are, again, still trying to figure it out. And like, I wanted to share your story so that people can see that's listening and watching that, man, if she can do it, I can do it, right?
Absolutely.
So as far as you from Brooklyn,
Right.
born and raised, so what was childhood like for you? Like, as far as like the inspiration to even become an entrepreneur?
I was just thinking about this on my flight last night, and you know, it was actually pretty crazy because on one end I had this really amazing, creative, euphoric childhood, and then on the other end I had this like super traumatic childhood, chaotic childhood. So my parents, I grew up in a two-parent household. I have five siblings, and my mom is an educator. She was a college dean my whole life, and she's like this super creative, dance, fun personality. And then my dad, he was like the entrepreneurial spirit. Like
Yeah.
I remember so vividly, there was one day where my dad was like, my mom's name is Jackie. He was like, Jack, man, they got these dogs. They breeding these dogs. They selling these dogs for thousands. We got to get us some dogs, Jack.
Yeah.
And I promise you, a week, not even later, he came home with like 10 huskies in a trunk and
Wow.
let them out in the front yard. My mom was like, what is we doing with these dogs?
Yeah, yeah.
But he just had vision and he just had execution. He was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he was also addicted to crack cocaine. And so he had these moments where he would like, he never had long-term success. He always had these short blurbs of success.
Yeah.
And so, you know, him just being addicted to crack cocaine had a really big shift in just like what my life looked like and the chaos and evictions and all the things that were going on. So it was like a crazy duality of like anything is possible, but then also how do you sustain the things that you create? And
Yeah.
that's kind of what has created who I am today.
For sure. Yeah. And like I said, I love to hear that because everybody's story ain't pretty. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we have examples in our life, in our household, and in our upbringing, that can mold and shape us to who we are today, good or bad. You know what I
Correct.
mean? So with that, like I said, I don't want to keep you long. You a busy woman. You know what I mean? You've been
No, we
traveling the world.
good.
Like I think you just got off a flight last night.
Yeah, I did.
Wow. So again, it's a privilege to have you here gracing us. I don't take it lightly and I don't take it for granted. So let's talk a little bit about, before we get into the money, because I know y'all want to get to the money. Before we get into the money, like, what was the aha moment for you to be able to start the Pink Print firm, like to go into that lane?
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? I can't pinpoint an aha moment. What I can pinpoint is a journey.
Okay.
And what I remember is my last 2 years of doing hair before COVID hit, I was like, there has to be more to life than this. Like, I'm a type of person who I need to be creating. I get bored and I'm like, I gotta be making some things shake.
Same.
Like, I wanna create, I wanna produce, I wanna be challenged.
Yeah.
And I was like, there has to be more to life than just what I'm doing right now, the money I'm making, the place I live at. But I just didn't know because I had that identity problem. I didn't know where to go next.
Yeah.
And so I remember just journaling a lot about this $1 million year that I thought I was going to have. And throughout the journaling process, I really figured out, like, mindset wise who I wanted to become, like identity wise who I wanted to shift into. And what happened was I ended up when COVID hit, I moved back down to Tennessee with my mom and my best friend and worked in a salon out in Tennessee. And unfortunately, the money that I had saved up during that period of time, my best friend robbed me of it.
Wow.
And so that moment is what was like the like super catalyst to making me make a decision. Because like if you have time, if you have the illusion of time, you'll delay stuff. You'll constantly be like, I'll start that later, I'll do that later,
Definitely.
I'll get to that later. But when it was like back against the wall, I had to quickly make a decision, and I had already kind of been doing the work in terms of just journaling and visualizing. And so I would say that was like the catapult
Yeah.
moment, but it was like a super long preparation journey that I have to really give it to, because if I hadn't been doing all that preparation, even in that catapult moment, I probably still would have just went back to what I know.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So like I said, most people, they have to have that catapult moment. You
And
know,
it's
like
unfortunate.
yeah. So it's like for most entrepreneurs, it is always a hesitation. It's always a I need something to happen in order for me to get my stuff together and do something. And like you said, I really kind of like tapped in. Something you said, I'm a creative. I got to be doing something. I can't just sit still. Even if things are good, I'm looking for what's next and what can be great, right?
Correct.
So yeah. So with that, I got my notebook.
You do.
I got my notebook, you know what I mean? Because I'm a student. So I took a lot of notes, hearing you speak when I met you. But then I had some people inquiring about, how to get started. People reach out to us and want to be on the show, because I
Sure.
do have a segment coming up. It's almost like with a Shark Tank situation. I want to put people in position that are looking to scale up, looking to grow, looking to get, noticed, so to speak, and have investors, you know what I mean, to pour into them. So they come on in a little 30-minute spot and actually share who they are, the type of business they got, the idea or the product or service. And then if the light go off, then as an investor, like almost
Oh,
like what
that's
was it, the
cool.
voice? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That turn around and we gonna invest in you.
Yeah.
So with that, they reached out and was like, I'm having a hard time getting started. I'm having a hard time finding money. Don't nobody want to believe in me. So I'm like, I got the grant guru here. I'm gonna ask these questions.
Okay.
So first and foremost, what is a grant? Like, what is a grant? Make it clear to the people so that they don't assume or don't think that it's something when it ain't.
Okay, simply put, it's debt-free capital that's infused into your business from corporation, government entity, or federal government that you can utilize to grow and expand your business.
Gotcha.
Simply put.
Got you. And we ain't gonna make simple complicated. So again, because most people got the misconception or the misinterpretation or misunderstanding of a grant being something that you have to qualify, for based on certain things and credit and so on and so forth. So kind of elaborate, like, now who qualifies for a grant? Like, what is it about a grant that, again, like you said, in your industry, most people ain't even tapped into it yet. You know what I'm saying? So why is it that people haven't tapped into it yet? Is it because they don't know what it is? They think they don't qualify. They don't understand it. So what has been your experience with it as it relates to the misconceptions?
Yes. So if you have a small business for profit or you have a nonprofit, you are qualified to win a grant. Now, the size of that grant depends on the history in your business, the revenue, the traction, and we kind of, paperwork. The more money you want, the more paperwork you have to have. But anyone, if you are a registered business or nonprofit or registered nonprofit, can win a grant opportunity.
Gotcha.
In terms of why people don't go for grants, is because it's not advertised to us, right? When was the last time in the mail you got a pre-approval letter for a grant opportunity?
Exactly.
Never. But they always are advertising credit. They're always advertising that you can get a loan or a line of credit for your business to get started, because they know that they're going to make money off of you and you're on the hook no matter what, right? So it's really just the lack of education and the widespread information out there on grants in general. And because it's so aloof to a lot of people, they automatically think, that's too far fetched for me.
Yeah.
And so they just go with what's in their face and advertise to them consistently. So when it comes to grant opportunities, you can qualify, anyone is qualified. And of course, there's ways to strengthen your application as you kind of go throughout the process of getting grants. But literally, anyone watching this, if you have a for-profit or nonprofit business, there's a grant that you can win.
Got you. And so again, the reason why I got my book, y'all, because I didn't want to miss out on nothing, but I shoot from the hip. So really for me, as an entrepreneur, I'm that person. You know what I mean? I'm the person that thought that I can't qualify for a grant because my credit wasn't so slick at one point in time, or because the type of business that I wanted to do was something that I believed that was lucrative for me and for my family, but I didn't think that it served the need to the masses. And I heard you speak about that when you spoke about, qualifying for certain grants, because the people want to give you the money. They just want to know, like, how is this beneficial and how can we put our name on it to make it like a state of a claim? You know what I
Yep.
mean? So my question is, and break down a little bit, I know you said it, but the difference between a grant and a loan, because most people still get that confused. Like, I qualify. When you hear the word qualify, you think I have to meet a certain criteria, obviously. But if my credit is 400 and I ain't got no money in the bank and I'm unemployed, but I got an idea, where does that put me?
Right. So the biggest difference is that are debt free,
Okay.
right? This is money that you're not repaying back. Second biggest thing is that it's not based on any kind of credit, not business credit and not personal credit. If you
Gotcha.
find a grant that's asking for that information, it's not a grant. Don't fill that out.
Got you.
The next biggest part of it is the process. So typically with a loan, right, you have to have a certain financial threshold, certain years in business, certain credit score. You take your documents in and they approve you based on money wise. Grants is based on mission. So it's based on mission, it's based on impact. And so you're not bringing a bunch of documents to the table depending on the funding source. You're really going based on mission and impact and messaging of the business. So you're putting together what's called a grant proposal, which basically is pitching you to the grantors to see if they like your idea, and if they like the way you're going to spend the money and the use of funds, then they'll go ahead and approve you as a recipient. But it's also the time frame is much different. The bank, when you go in the bank and you give your documents and they say you're approved, you got your money in 48, 72 hours. With a grant, it's about 30 to 45-day cycle for them to actually choose recipients. So those are the biggest differences when it comes to grants and loans.
Okay. Glad you cleared that up, because again, like I said, there's a lot of so-called gurus out here, right? And again, I don't give people titles and recognition if they don't deserve it and if it's not really applicable, but you've earned the right, you know what I'm saying, to be called the grant guru, the grant go. And because I'm an energy person, you know what I'm saying? When I was sitting there listening to what you were saying, it was like the lights were going off. And so when I scroll on social media all the time, I see so many people that I can get you funded in 48 hours. If
Right.
you got a business, you can get $500,000 with no documents. And I'd be like, huh? But then they charge you goo gobs of money with no guarantees behind it. So for you, the Pink Print firm, what do you guys do in totality so the people know?
Yeah. So we're a full service grant writing agency. So essentially all we do is we help you find, write, and apply to grant opportunities.
Okay.
So our job is to get the message for you that we think is going to win the grants, find the grants that are aligned with your business, and then submit those applications with the best strategy and skill set to put you in the best position possible. And the reason why we're good at it is because we created basically a formula. It's literally like the same formula across the board that we've strategized on. It redevelops itself as time goes on and with new offices and administrations and economic changes, but it's a pretty stone cold solid formula that we've created over the course of these last years that we've been in business. So that's what we do. We just help you find, write, and apply to the grant opportunity so that you don't have to do it. It takes a lot of time to procure grant opportunities. And if you're running a business, I mean, like you're podcasting, you're running a business, like spending 60 hours a week to go for grant opportunities may not be feasible for the everyday person. So if you have the budget to do so, then you would hire a grant writer so that we can now be the people that are procuring money for you in your business.
Got you. And I'm glad you said that, having somebody to do the work, especially if you're good at doing the work, you ain't got to beat yourself up trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
That's the truth.
And that's one thing I've learned as an entrepreneur. It's like the wealthiest people of the wealthy, they find people that are better than them at certain things and they pay them to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of dumb millionaires out here. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So when you were talking about, having an agency that specializes, and again, like I told y'all, 19 plus million in funding that this young lady and her team has secured for people, right? So that was the big light that went off for me. But at the same time, hearing it from you personally makes it all come together, because you see a lot of people now that can guarantee all this stuff, and then they're relying on AI, they're relying on Chat
Mm-hmm.
GPT.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of clear that up to show people like why not Chat GPT to try to apply for grants and all this stuff, because it's not an actual person that know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that AI has its place, right? My team
Mm.
is utilizing AI for research, like
Yeah,
super deep research that we can used to take us 10 hours is taking us 10 minutes now.
for sure.
There's definitely places for, utilizing AI, but the Senate actually just passed a bill in the big beautiful bill that they're banning AI when it comes to funding, right?
Mm.
And then they went back and said we're not going to use it, and they're kind of twiddling back and forth with completely banning AI because it's an infringement on copyright issues. You have
Yeah,
plagiarism issues.
yeah,
You have people that are submitting grant opportunities saying that they're going to have these certain outcomes, and they're not committing to those outcomes, and they're having to retract funding. There's a lot of issues when it comes to using AI for funding just in general, especially on the federal and state level.
yeah,
So this is not something that's just like, oh, don't use it because I'm a grant writer. It's becoming a concern nationally, globally.
yeah,
And so also, they're using tools like Zero GPT to see if people are using AI and they're kicking those applications out. And also, you just want your story to come across, like the passion. A
yeah,
lot of times when there's a grantor who's going through the process of looking at reviewing all of the applicants, it's a real person. And so it's not hard to tell when somebody just threw some AI ChatGPT stuff together.
exactly.
You can really read it off the paper. It's not hard.
Yeah,
And so it's just important to have like your original work really showcased for you, or an original work of someone that you're working with. So AI to me, it simply isn't going to get the results that you're looking for because you don't have the relationships that a grant writer has. For
yeah,
one, you don't understand that having a relationship and being able to go to a grantor and say, hey, what's the rubric that you guys are grading these grants off of?
hmm,
What is the way that you want to see the budget in order for someone to get approved? Or even with AI, it's not given the human touch
yeah,
that's
for
really
sure.
needed when it comes to going for grants. And people will argue me down about how they can make AI do this, that, and the third. But I'm like, I don't care how groovy you get with
Yeah,
utilizing AI, I can read it,
yeah,
I
for
can
sure.
see it. So I think for me personally, it's just utilizing your original work to really get the funding. And at the end of the day, if you really want the multi-million dollar grants, if you really want the $100,000 grants, just do the work.
Yeah. And that's so key that you said that. It's like we can rely on AI to do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, they trying to replace us with at the restaurants, and
Mm-hmm.
everything is so technology based to where it's like you don't know what to believe, right? So you said something that was so key that I picked up on, in the actual seminar that you did, where you talked about like people slapping stuff up, and then the government is picking that stuff up. So now you see so many credit gurus and all that type of stuff, getting funding, and all these hacks and stuff, like they acting like these people not paying attention. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like they are watching and listening, and you can be up today and gone tomorrow, or possibly
Mm-hmm.
going to jail. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm like, I want to tap into the source that know what they talking about, that really can get it done. So in the pink print firm, you guys specialize in getting people the bank, getting people the money, working with them, putting them in a position to where they not trying to figure it out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But you said something at the seminar that was so key. I don't know a word for word verbatim, but you said like basically a grant a day. You know what I mean? Like a
Mm-hmm.
grant, like you can have enough grants coming in your threshold to where you can sustain and live
Mm-hmm.
and thrive. So explain that process. Like when you mean um, applying for grants, how many per day, how many per month, to where you can get a realistic flow. And I'm telling y'all, to follow this strategically and precisely, um, a kind of like a blueprint. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, how should I be applying? How often? What can I expect? Because you said you should be having grants on autopilot, like money just
Correct.
coming in. Like you should never have
Literally.
to spend your own bread.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a firm believer that I don't want to spend my own bread no more. Like I want to get the other people's money. You know what I'm
That
saying? So if
part.
it's available, I want it. So break that down, and how should people go about the process to the promise?
So we teach our clients one grant a day keeps the debt away. That's like our
That's what it
saying.
was. Okay.
And when I looked this morning, there's 32,000 and some change grants that are currently open on the marketplace, right? So when you think about there's 32 grant opportunities, and a lot of people will come to me and say, there's no grants for my business, I call cap because I'm like, there's 32,000. If you were to apply to one grant a day, that's 365 grants that you're applying to. That's 1% of the open grants on the market.
Exactly.
You can find 1% of grants to qualify for your business. So what people need to be doing is applying to one grant a day, but also building relationships with these funders, right? Because you're not going to win all of the grants you apply to. Typically, people are winning about 10% of the grants that they actually apply to if they're doing it at that volume.
And not to cut you off. So when you say building relationships with those funders, so like, what do you mean in respect of building relationship with them?
Yep.
Like reaching out to them personally, like, what do
Yep.
you?
Let me do it. Let me give it to you because
Okay.
before we ever submit any grant applications, we reach out to the funder beforehand, right?
Okay.
So let's say we found a grant that AT&T is giving out. We reach out to, typically we go on LinkedIn and we try to find who's over the director over this grant opportunity, and we'll email them. And what we email them is like a, one paragraph email with our pitch deck or the pitch deck of our client so that we can introduce the business before we actually write the grant proposal. And what we're asking for is not only introducing, but we're also asking to see if we can get any inside information on what they're looking for.
Gotcha.
And so the goal with that is just to basically put yourself on their horizon and kind of introduce yourself initially. Then we put in our regular application as normal, follow all the rules, and then after the grant opportunity is over, we do a follow-up. So whether we got chosen for the grant or not, we always thank them for the opportunity and follow up with them and see if there's any other opportunities for funding that they have, because they might have a budget that they haven't announced. They may have funding that they haven't announced. And if you have, an event or a podcast or, some specific thing that you're doing that might be of interest to them, they still might be a sponsor.
Yeah.
So this is how one of my clients secured $2,500 for the next 12 months with a funder for her programming, simply by building these relationships and letting them know, well, I got something else going on. I don't know if you guys are interested in this. I have this event that I'm doing. If you guys want to become fiscal sponsors of this. And then the goal is that every month, like you said, on autopilot, you have $20,000 in grant money coming in, $50,000 in grant money coming in that can float your operational costs and your expansion costs. But if you're not doing it on a high level, you're not going to be able to get to the point where grants becomes this revenue strategy in your business. And that's the goal. It's not supposed to be one-off opportunities just to get a little influx of capital. It's literally supposed to be like cash flow. It's as good as getting clients.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And that's so dang on key. Like I said, y'all, I'm a student. I'm being a student today. 30 plus years in entrepreneurship, and everything I've done, everything I've built has been from the mud. You know what I mean? Saving, grinding, multiple things going on. You know what I'm saying? So to hear that it's so much money out here, and we hear it all the time. It's money out here. It's plenty of money out here, but you don't know how to get it, how to access it, right? So, being able to hire you guys on, to do the work for me, because I want it done right the first time, right? I want to be able to go in there and say, hey, I got this particular type of business. I don't have no money. I don't have no funding. Is it more so like a coaching type of thing that you guys do as well, as far as like, I'm coming in, I want to hire you guys to, help me, present proposals, grant proposals, and kind of like showing me the ins and outs on what to do, how to do, when to do, all of that. And then on top of that, being able to, like you said, make that an ongoing thing to where now that becomes my source and my stream, to where I don't have to worry about running out of money, or I don't have to worry about if I don't qualify. I just got to do the work. So you guys are pretty much, from what I'm hearing, the go-to. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to getting grants done the right way, is Pink Print Firm. Simple.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, our core values is results, education, determination, integrity, right? Ready, which
Definitely.
is what that spells for us. So before we really work with anyone, we really try to get them in like our summits and our seminars and our classes, because we still host tons of classes just educating on what does the process look like. An educated client is the best client you're going to have,
Yeah.
because it's a totally different process than loans, and it takes time to do it right. Takes time. You don't want to rush it. You don't want to be impatient. And I always tell business owners, if you're thinking that you're going to spend your last to hire us, or you're in a desperation, we're not the people for you.
Yeah.
Because we genuinely are like, there's a lot of buildup that it takes for us to even want to submit a grant, because we got to reach out first. We got to, just align you properly. And in terms of like educating, to be completely honest with you, when you're our client, we give you the resources to educate. We have like a client educational hub where you can learn what we're doing at certain points of the process. But we want to work. We're like at home and we're in our computer so deep, like we're trying to work. And the more we have to update you and educate you outside of what we've already positioned for, it does take a lot of time away from the actual process, which slows it down, because it takes a lot of time to write, find, and apply to grant opportunities. So yes, we do provide like educational resources. You own all the documents that we produce and procure, so you can consistently use them. Like a lot of our clients, after we have a mentorship program for our clients, that we have consistent classes inside of there where they can continue to learn. Like for instance, Trump just eliminated about 250 words that you can no longer use on your on grant applications on the federal level.
Yeah, I seen you talked about that.
So, stuff like that, we're going to go educate our clients. Like if you've worked with us, you're inside our program, hey, this is a new thing that's happening. We need to know what to do, how to adjust, how to make this happen. This is what we're doing. We'll keep you guys posted on how this looks, how this works, because it's important to have that continuous education. So you become a part of a network for sure, in an ecosystem, which alone is valuable. Just, that part alone is super valuable. But yes, we're big on education, and we think that everyone, even if grants is not right for every business, okay? Every business owner doesn't want the process of grants. However they're running their ship, it's just not the right thing for them. So
And you say that because
the time.
Okay.
Yeah, the time to get the funding. Sometimes grants there's two type of grants. There's restricted funding, and then there's unrestricted funding. So unrestricted is the grants that you can utilize to grow your business however you deem fit. Restricted is like, okay, we have particular things that we want you to use the money for.
Right.
The bigger grants are typically restricted funding. The smaller grants are the unrestricted, but most people, if I ask them how much they need, they're gonna tell me 50 to 100,000 off the bat, right?
Not even really knowing the real
Correct. They don't really know if I got $1,000, I could run ads, and you know what I'm saying, like little small stuff. But it's really important to just understand fully like what you're getting into and what the process is when it comes to grants, and that's why we really try to educate so that people can make sound, educated decisions.
Right. Okay. Cool. So it's so much that I can ask.
It's a lot.
So much. Trying not to miss nothing, but I'm just speak as an entrepreneur and pretend as if I was a brand new person, brand new entrepreneur. Let's say I got big ideas. I got an idea for a particular business. Let's call it a restaurant. Because I know at the seminar you talked a lot about, people getting grants for cosmetics, for doing hair, for starting a podcast, for whatever it is. So it's money for everyone that wants it, right? So if I'm a brand new entrepreneur, creative, visionary, want to do a restaurant, I got $5,000 to my name, I got bad credit, I tap into your program. What is the process from, like you said, from day one, I come on board, what do you guys help me do to be able to make my dream a reality as it relates to grants? Because again, y'all, funding with grants is way different from you wrecking your brain trying to go get a loan that you don't qualify for, and trying to beg your mama and your aunties and them. You know what I mean? So give me a process that if I was coming to you, like I said, 5 G's to my name, I'm hungry, I'm an awesome, amazing cook. I want a restaurant because I see everybody popping up restaurants everywhere. But you told me, I seen in your seminar, you can get some grant money for me. So hook me up. Tell me that process.
The first thing that we typically want our clients to do is come to us at least 3 months before you actually want to launch. whatever it is, because grants have those cycles and we need time for preparation and planning.
So it ain't no microwave, y'all. It's not a
Correct.
microwave.
It's not like, hey, I'm trying to start this up tomorrow.
Gotcha.
We try to have at least 1/4 of being able to submit applications, because we're not going to win every single application we submit. We have like an 80% success rate right now. So we got to have some that we can, put in the water and test it out and see, getting feedback. And, you're new to us, we're new to you.
Gotcha.
So initially you're filling out a questionnaire, which basically gives us all the information on your business for us to start doing our research.
Okay.
So what we're doing is researching your industry. We're researching different funders who funded projects like yours in the past. We're researching people who've won grants similar to you, and we're trying to find those people so we can reach out to them, see what they've produced and what they were putting on their proposals. And then we get on a call. So once we get on the call, that's kind of the chance for us to break down the process to you, and then also to understand more on why are these your goals? Because when we have you fill out the questionnaire, we're looking for you to also give us like, what's your annual grant budget? Like, what would you need annually to make this thing like really work for you? And so when we talk about the annual budget, we have to make sure we're in alignment, because with grants, you can't just put fictitious numbers and be like, oh, I need 30,000 to do this and this cost. No, it has to be the real actual costs of things, because on the grants, they have people who are literally, their job is to, fact check the numbers. So we have to get realistic there. And then from there, we create what's called the grant proposal. And the grant proposal is what we use to submit to multiple different grant opportunities. With that grant proposal, that's like a 30-page document that we write out for you with everything. It's not a business plan, because it's like storytelling, but it still has like facts, data, budget, and some, things that are consistent with the business plan. And then from there, we, find the grant opportunities. We say, hey, these are the 8 that we think are on the market right now that are aligned with what you need and who your business is, and that have funded projects similar to yours. We want to go for these ones, but then we have to also tell you if they have other implications, right? Some might be like, oh, we want you to, if we give you this 100,000, you got to go through a 6-week education program. Like, oh, if we give you this $30,000, you got to agree to come in to our gala on March 31st, So we have to also make sure, can you commit? Because if you don't, they will retract the funding. So once we get an agreement there, we go ahead and submit those applications. We wait, it's about, a couple weeks until we hear back about you being a recipient. And then from there, we, keep the process rolling and keep it going.
Got you. And I'm soaking it all up. And it was so crazy. You said a lot that I believe a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs or people who say they want to be entrepreneurs miss out on. It's the little things that these people require that most people are not willing to do. And it's crazy. So I'm sure you see in your business how many people you've helped to secure certain things and they not willing to do the bare minimum.
What? We had a client who literally, they had won a $25,000 grant. They were a finalist for it, right? And once you're a finalist, you pretty much got it.
Yeah.
They were saying, can you record us a 60-minute video explaining use of funds, and how you would utilize the money and how it would help you grow. She did not want to record a 60-second video because she was shy.
60 seconds, not 60 minutes. 60
I'm sorry. Did I say minutes? No, not 60 minutes, 60 seconds.
So
1 minute video.
Minute.
1 minute video on how she would utilize the funding. And she said she was shy on camera.
Wow.
You ever seen that cartoon where Bart was getting choked out and his eyeballs was popping?
Yeah.
When I tell you, I was like, you're kidding me, right?
Wow.
You're joking. She was like, can I have my daughter do it? What?
You the face. We need you to do it.
She ain't do it.
People make simple complicated.
She didn't do it. So it's little stuff like that you have to really understand. You got to be ready.
Yeah.
You simply have to be ready across the board. And for me, I'm like, video, heck yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have, it's not about being cute. It's about explaining how you're going to use the funds. And you already have the verbiage for it. We wrote it for you.
Exactly.
Just read off the page.
Exactly. And that's what blows my mind, because a lot of people, like I said, they'll complain and cry and play victim, about nobody looking out, nobody taking care, nobody showing me how to do it. And people give you game every day. They giving you the blueprint. They giving you the gems. They giving you the nuggets, and you don't apply. I always say knowledge ain't power. It's applied knowledge is powerful. You know what I'm saying? Because people can hear, and learn. But if it's no application, you ain't going nowhere. So, and I know we wrap up real soon, but in your line of work and everything that you've done for people in that space, like what is the biggest, I want to say, the biggest thing that you've seen accomplishment wise? Like, of course you won 19 plus million for people, right? What was the biggest like relief for you? No, before I even get to that, because you said, and again, it's so much in my head. You said on the panel that you started your businesses, you funded your businesses grants. So how did that come about? Because again, this is somebody that mastered the game, that is now the guru of the game, that started out the same way she's teaching you how to start it out. So I want y'all to hear this and listen very closely. So tell the people, when you started business in your business, how did that all come about?
So initially, right, in my hair company, because I own 2 mobile hair salons in New York, I had won some grants in that business, but not to start them.
Okay.
So I had already had the education that grants were available and around. So when I was going to start Pink Print, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start with this grant funding. So I applied to 10 grants, won my 11th grant, and it was a $50,000 grant, which I utilized to literally catapult the business, and it literally took the business off. Like
Yeah.
that money alone just to start with was crazy. And it literally happened after I had got robbed. Like it was probably 6 months after I got robbed. So, that just like brought me back to health. Like I was
Yeah.
like, whoo,
Yeah. Give
thank
you
you, Lord.
life.
Yeah, it really did. So using that money to start the business, I just had so much more flexibility. I had so much more peace, right? One thing I tell people is when you take out a loan, no matter how much it is, you're constantly thinking that you got to pay that loan back,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So if you think just from a mental standpoint, if your mind has the capacity to only think of a certain amount of things in a day or to have so much room for things in a day, if one of the things taking up room is that you got to pay somebody back, it brings a level of stress and anxiety that depletes your opportunity to think big, to think
Yeah.
large, to think with peace, to think with freedom.
Yeah.
So my mind, when I was winning those grants to start my company, my mind was completely free to think as big as possible. I had nothing but space, time, and room to really operate. So people don't really think about the emotional standpoint of starting a business and how having or not having or having to pay back somebody money affects how you start your business as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And
that's a big
that's a
thing.
big deal because again, as an entrepreneur who got it out the mud, right? You that's one big thing that you always think about. I don't want to have to owe nobody. I don't want to be thinking about, if I don't make this money this month, I got to pay these people.
Correct.
Outside, I mean, and I've sat down with a young lady, who owns a restaurant, had multiple restaurants, and tried to expand, you know what I'm saying? And wasn't able to open up right away due to all kind of stuff that, the occupancy and everything,
Contractors and
contractors.
permits.
So she was put off 2 years
You had to pay them
and had to
loans.
pay them loans, had to pay that rent. And so imagine having that over your head where you think God has blessed me with the idea and the thought to become a thing. And I'm bombarded with, I gotta pay, I gotta pay, I gotta pay, I gotta pay. And I'm not generating. You know what I mean? So when you said that at the seminar about, 1 grand a day, keeping the debt away, utilizing those funds to be able to sustain and maintain and scale up. And that's what really hit home for me. So definitely becoming a client and becoming a part of the program is definitely all about what I'm doing. So before I let you go, tell us where you are in the business with your firm. Like I said, you traveling and moving around. You a superstar in my eyes. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? So I see
thank
you
you.
and I'm like, dang, she moving and grooving. You on Angela Yee, you doing, I'm like, she ain't playing around. So the Pink Print firm is doing big things now. What's next? Like what's on the horizon as it relates to, whatever it is, what I mean, to show people that we started from a thought and now we a big thing and we're growing. So what's next and what's on the horizon?
The biggest next thing that we're in process with is we actually just franchised Pink Print, which is like a big major deal. And so now all the people who are like, I love what you guys are doing. I love the mission. I love the results. I want to bring this to Chicago. I want to bring that to Milwaukee. I want to bring that to my neighborhood. Can now franchise the business and be able to bring grant writing opportunities to the people in their area as well.
Wow.
And own that territory to really help those business owners where they're at. And so I think that's going to be a super cool opportunity that we're releasing this year, later on this year officially, so that people can really support business owners. And the good thing about our franchise is that you don't have to be a grant writer. You don't have to be grant educated in terms of how to write them and submit them, because our team is still going to do all the fulfillment for you. So
Gotcha.
you'll literally just be repping the brand of like, yo, we do this, right? And this
Gotcha.
is here, this is active. And it's a super easy way to get into helping entrepreneurs, having a real impact in your community, building a great legacy, and then being a part of a community that already has like this powerful brand.
Exactly. And that's crazy. I'm so glad you said that. So not only today have you dropped gems and dropped knowledge on how to acquire grants, how to, qualify, how to go about it, utilizing you guys to help get it done. And now offering another opportunity that y'all hope y'all listening. Another opportunity to be able to get a business, a sound business, a business that's thriving, a business that's already going, and tap into business ownership without having no experience in that lane. So hopefully y'all pick that up to become a franchisee of a franchise that's already going. All right. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna drop all that in the description, to make sure that people can tap in, to be able to utilize the services and things of that nature. Anybody that's listening and watching Leadership Over Libations, definitely y'all can tap in and go directly to the source, with our specialized link in the description. But before I let Miss Banks go, what is a word or words that you can leave to the people that are, listening, that are watching, as a young entrepreneur, 30 or under or 30 and over? What are some words that you want to leave to let people know that if I can do it, you can do it?
I think when I had my catapult moment, I listened to a Nipsey Hussle song, and he said, "Never let a hard time get to your heart, and never let a good time get to your head." And that's definitely something that lives rent free in my mind, is to kind of keep an even keel, stable mindset, attitude, and emotions toward all the situations, and just really believing that it's all working out for the better of your good and bad,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so that's probably what I want people to remember, is like, it's gonna be okay. It really is. And it's gonna work out, and you're gonna be full circle moment 1 year, 2 years, 5 years from now, and be like, that's why I need to go through that.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Cause I
for
be
sure.
having those moments now all the time, be like 2018 when I won my first grant, I would have never thought I was going to be a certified grant writer, securing 19 million, having a grant writing franchise.
Yeah, for
And it's
sure.
like, that's why you needed me to get fired from the salon and have to start that business and be desperate for money and find that grant, and crazy.
Yep. God has a sense of humor. He'll put you in positions where you got to give up something to get something.
You do. It
Yeah.
says the cost. It's not free.
Yeah.
So you just have to remember to stay even keeled. Don't let a hard time get to your heart, and don't let a good time get to your head. Just stay even keeled.
That's right. Well, I mean, I can keep her here all day and keep chopping it up, man. But before I let you go, we toast you out. I want you to look into that camera and tell the people how to get in contact with you, where to follow you on the socials, and yeah, just really how to tap in and learn more about getting funding and getting started.
Okay. Thanks for watching this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you want to learn more about how you can get access to grant opportunities, I'm on all social media platforms as I am Stormy Banks, and that's Stormy with an I. And if you want to learn more, tap into our summit coming up August 4th through the 8th, where you can learn everything there is to know A to Z about grant opportunities. And I hope to see you inside.
That'll do it. That'll do it. So again, everything will be put down in the description below. Thank you so much for
Thank
stopping by,
you.
for gracing us with your presence. Like I said, there's so much more I can ask and so much more I can talk to you about, but I know how it is traveling and talking and everything like that. So I just want to have a good conversation over a good cocktail, good libation.
Absolutely.
So before I let you go, we always toast out to the pie in the sky again.
Absolutely.
The P standing for continued prosperity, the I standing for independence, and the E standing for eminence.
Okay. I
So
like that too.
definitely toast you
Cheers to the
out.
pie in the sky.
Cheers. All right. So yeah, man, with that being said, I hope y'all got something from it. Hope y'all got some nuggets, got some game. Stormy Banks. Her last name is Banks, and she gonna show you how to get to the bank and put the bank in your pocket. So if y'all not subscribed, man, tap the subscribe. Like, share, comment, follow, do what you got to do. Till next week, man, keep it 100, keep it raw onion. And if you aim at nothing, you bound to hit a guarantee. We out.